This is the audience for my speech. Thank you. Hello everyone listening, and welcome to my informative speech. My name is Abraham Howell, and I will be delivering this speech to you all today. And to start things off, the title of this speech is Understanding the Psychology of Winning in Wrestling. So, many see wrestling as a sport of pure skill and strength. They believe all it takes to win a match is just to be better than your opponent. Now, these things definitely do contribute to winning, but many fail to consider the mental side of wrestling. So, to ensure victory on the mat, you have to keep a strong mindset as well. In this speech, I will be explaining the psychological side of success in the sport of wrestling and ways to hone your temperament for success. These strategies will explain how wrestlers stay focused, confident, and mentally tough while competing. So, the main 3 points of this speech will be the role of confidence, the use of visualization to mentally prepare while wrestling, how managing stress can improve performance, and the importance of approaching defeat with a growth mindset. So starting off, I would like to explain how confidence is imperative in achieving success as a wrestler. Many wrestling coaches attempt to instill confidence by training moves. And it definitely works, it works well, but there are other strategies that you can use to help improve your confidence. So my first strategy I'd like to touch on is known as visualization. So visualization involves thinking about the match that's coming, imagining it in your head, and thinking about the scenario, from walking out on the mat and shaking your opponent's hand to what pinning combination you'll be using to win. So many wrestlers use this strategy to picture their match and become more comfortable. Former undefeated NCAA wrestler Cael Sanderson said, "Confidence comes from being prepared. Confidence also comes from gratitude and humility as well." And so the reason I mention this is because this ties in with the idea of visualization, as visualization does provide a feeling of security, as you do have an idea of your game plan and maybe what will happen in your match. So while visualizing, you can imagine, your opponent being pinned, or maybe imagine the referee raising your hand as a little bit of motivation to keep going. So another common tactic to improve confidence is positive affirmation and self-talk. So what this basically means is how you talk to yourself before you wrestle. So you should maybe think about what you do best, think about some of the best opponents you've ever beaten, or how much you've worked and how much you deserve it. Never think negatively before a match, because it can affect the way you wrestle. Because if you convince yourself into thinking that you're a bad wrestler or that you're not going to win, chances are you're not going to win. So another thing you can do is repeating words in your head, such as champion or greatest, to make yourself feel better before you step onto the mat. This can help because when you repeat these words, your brain starts to believe it, and it builds your confidence up when you wrestle. So this brings me to my next point, and this point is the importance of managing stress and nervousness and how it can benefit your performance. So being nervous before a match is perfectly normal. It's also perfectly expected. I mean, everyone is always nervous before they wrestle. I mean, it's just a very nerve-wracking experience. But we cannot allow this nervousness to fester into fear. Now, as negative thoughts begin to come across your mind, they will try to root themselves into your head, bringing you down. But to combat this, you can try telling yourself no repeatedly, stop repeatedly, to try to prevent these thoughts from getting to you. Now, expectations and competitiveness can cause stress and nervousness while wrestling. Some techniques such as deep breathing and muscle relaxation can help combat these feelings. Now, according to the Sporting Balance blog website, by developing resilience in the face of stress, athletes can perform at their best when it matters most. When we recognize this, we can work towards eliminating the stress and building our resilience. So this brings me to my last discussion point, and this is how we should approach failure and bounce back from it. So every wrestler experiences some kind of failure in their career. What separates a strong athlete from a weak athlete, though, is how they approach failure. Approaching failure with a growth mindset which means that you view defeat as an opportunity to learn, and you learn from your defeat, can improve performance and ensure future success. Also, remember that the first step to growing from failure is forgiving yourself. According to the Wrestling Mind blog website, you should always think about your performance and what there is to be learned about it, from it, but you should always use a mantra similar to new match or next match, and then use what you've learned there. Never dwell on failure, just use it as an opportunity to grow. So my final words about this section is that an experience, even if it's perceived as a failure, if it provides growth, then it was a success. So some final words, a small anecdote for me is that from my experience as a first-year wrestler, managing your mindset can be extremely challenging at first. I remember my first loss, my first ever match was a loss, and it devastated me, but once it was over, I was able to use it as an opportunity to learn and bounce back. So I started getting a feel for wrestling with confidence and thinking with positivity. Discovering this allowed me to come back stronger than ever, and I won my very next match. So being mentally prepared was just as important for me, if not even more so, than being physically prepared. So remember, confidence, stress management, and resilience are all factors that are just as important as skill and technique. Remember that winning starts in the mind, and wrestlers who conquer their own minds can conquer the mat too. Thank you.